Good evening and welcome to the Great Maya Aquifer. I'm Karla Munguia, ambassador for this project in the Yucatan Peninsula, and today we have a very, very special online and live session with 4 rock stars in conservation and exploring and underwater caves. I'm pleased to present one by one in this special occasion, celebrating the International Year of Caves and Karst. We must remember that 2021 will be having this year, this worldwide event. So we are so pleased to be part of this important international event worldwide. So the first one that I would like to introduce you today is one of our main sponsors at the Great Maya Aquifer. This sponsor is called Dive Rite. Dive Rite is a brand that has this technical equipment for serious scuba divers. So the first one, please, can you join me, is Jared Hires. Jared, it's great to have you with us today. We're very pleased to have you with us. It's an honor to be working with you, and we're very thankful to you because of your participation with the Great Maya Aquifer here in Mexico.
Thank you for having me on tonight, and we're really excited to, of course, be a part of the Great Maya Project, supporting everything you guys do. So happy to chat with you a little bit tonight.
Thank you, Jared. The second person that I want to introduce you is Ricardo Castillo. Ricardo Castillo is an amazing underwater photographer. He's also a cave diver, and he's also an instructor for cave diving. Ricardo is Mexican, and he is the general manager for Dive Rite in Mexico. Ricardo, bienvenido, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you again. It's good to see you. Hello, Jared. How are you?
Good to see you, Ricardo.
Now, the third person that I want to introduce you today is our amazing underwater archaeologist. He's also explorer for National Geographic Society and director for the Great Maya Aquifer. Guillermo Dianda, welcome today again. It's so nice to see you again in this live broadcast. Bienvenido, Guillermo.
Oh, thank you very much. Muchas gracias, Karla. I'm very, very happy to be with these good friends, with these good allies, and let's have a nice talk tonight.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now I want to introduce you to the fourth one. And how would I describe her? How would you describe her, Guillermo?
She's amazing. She's a superwoman. She's a powerful girl. She can do everything. She's smart. So and she's a great scientist.
Yes.
So I think this is all she is and much more.
Yes. So and a great athletics too.
Yeah, that's why I say superwoman.
Yeah, she's superwoman.
She can run for a day.
Celis, welcome.
Welcome, everybody. Good night, everybody, and I'm glad to be here with all of you, great people.
Thank you, Anna. So I forgot to mention that Anna is the head of the research program at the Great Maya Aquifer, so she will talk about that later. So to start with this awesome live talk today, I would like to introduce you to Jared Hires. We want to know who's Jared. So Jared's been scuba diving since he was 15 years old. You were super young, Jared.
Yeah.
He's also a premier technical dive gear manufacturer. He's working for Dive Rite, and he's been a general manager for this brand manufacturer and established in 1984. So Jared grew up surrounded by diving. Jared began his technical diving career, as I said before, being both CCR and cave trained at the early age of 15. He became an open water scuba instructor at age 18, and he's progressed through the ranks to CCR instructor. Having had many great diving opportunities, Jared has had the chance to dive in many dream list destinations. Some of his most memorable ones include Norway, Russia, Hungary, Belize, Mexico, of course. You've been at the Great Maya Aquifer region.
Of course.
And he resides in Cape Country. So Jared has the ability to get wet almost every week and enjoys keeping skills up in multiple gear configurations. So thank you, Jared, for being with us. So to begin with this talk, I would like to ask you the first question. I need to remind everyone that if you have some questions for Jared or Ricardo or Ana or Guillermo, please make sure that you write them, and I'll make sure that the people here are gonna respond the questions for you. So my first question for you, Jared, is you've been diving around the world in the most dangerous places. So what are the features of Dive Rite equipment that made you trust them with your life, literally?
Well, I mean, so part of it is that we actually design the equipment. So when you have a hand in designing the equipment that you actually go and dive, that makes you trust it most of the time a little bit more than, you know, buying something off the shelf. So that has a lot to do with it. The fact that we personally design it to be exactly what we want in our own equipment. I know the test data to prove that it's good equipment, that is working. I know the people that sew the products, that build the products. So that always gives me a lot of faith in the equipment when I go take it, like you said, into some of the most dangerous places. Of course, I don't think they're that dangerous. I think that most of the cave divers here would agree that, you know, diving in a cave is not necessarily dangerous, even though people might think it is. But really, I mean, that has a lot to do with it. I know where the equipment is made. I know the processes, the procedures that it goes through when it's tested. So I've never had a problem taking it anywhere in the world. Coldest water, you know, 32-degree cold water, deep back miles inside of a cave, no problem. Always trust it.
Thank you, Jared. We actually have photos of you diving in really cold water, so we'll have a look at those later.
Way different from the caves of Mexico, the cold water.
Yes, I can.
Much prefer the warm water.
Yes, I can imagine. Now, Ricardo, if you could please explain to us, Dive Rite has this motto that says that Dive Rite is equipment for serious divers. What do you mean by serious divers?
Oh, that's a good question. And the serious divers it's a diver who knows to use the right tool for the job. It's a diver who have this feeling or study about the diving profiles, and then he designed the diving or the profile of the diving with the right tools. So Dive Rite is focused in this part of support the divers to try to give them all the tools for making his job. And the most important part, it's when you are underwater, you need to trust in your equipment. So you don't want to have a problem, and you don't want to some of your equipment interfere with your diving, or because sometimes in these environments are very hard, or you need to do a hard work, or you need to do something really task loading. So you need to trust in your gear. So Dive Rite focus in this part of make really good equipment for the divers.
Thank you, Ricardo. I mean, I see this picture and I think it's one of the most beautiful, amazing, and overwhelming photos. Where are you here?
In the North Pole.
In the North Pole. So Dive Rite has the characteristics to handle this really, really low temperature. What's the difference for the water here?
Oh, the difficult here, it's the temperature of the water. Mm-hmm. It's minus 1.7, and that make very, very hard and painful dive. And the other, it's you are under the ceiling, so that it's the other difficult part. So you really need to trust in your equipment when you are there. This is diving under the ice platform just in front of Greenland, and this ice you see in the back, it's all these ice packs stick together and then move with the wind around all this part of the north.
That's beautiful. We're going to go back to this after I ask the next question for Jared. Thank you, Ricardo. So, Jared, what is your favorite dive rite equipment? Why? And where have you been diving with this equipment?
Can I say all of it? I mean,
yes.
Having to limit it just to one piece of equipment is kind of hard. But, you know, like Ricardo was just saying, the right tool for the job. And luckily, Dive Rite makes a lot of those tools. So we have everything from your back mount, you know, setup, side mount, and rebreather. And rebreather, you know, the Dive Rite Optima CCR, and now the new chest mount Optima CCR probably is my favorite, you know, techie piece of equipment that we make. And, you know, for me, I've done lots of cool dives on the rebreather, done a lot of cool dives here in our cave country here in North Florida, have taken it down to Mexico and done some cool dives down in Mexico. But I would say that probably I love the caves. So probably some of the coolest dives I've done with my rebreather was over in Budapest, in Molnar János Cave in Budapest, right in the middle of the city. Took the rebreather over there to do some really cool dives, and that would be probably the coolest thing I've done with my rebreather. I've of course been out to Truck Lagoon, dove the World War II wrecks out there in Truck, which is also a awesome experience. But diving has taken me all over. I've definitely got some really great experiences with all of it.
Jared, as you know, and as I said at the beginning, this year is the International Year of Caves and Karst, and with these images we see you scuba diving among these underwater caves and these beautiful karst environments. So what would you like to say about this, about caves and karst?
I mean, so caves are definitely, you know, my passion. That's something, you know, my father, he started Dive Rite back in the day. Of course, he started it out of a love of cave diving, and he instilled that love into me. I started diving the caves at a very early age, and there's just nothing like it. I heard the other day somebody was giving an analogy of why do they like to cave dive. We hear all the time when we're at the local dive sites, people are like, what are you doing down there in that dark cave? Why do you go in the cave? Do you see fish? Do you see treasure? And of course the answer is no, we don't see many fish, right? We don't see much treasure, but it's very similar to like walking through the Grand Canyon, you know, walking through the big, the valleys that were created by Mother Nature. And caves are very much the same thing. Yeah, you don't see fish, you don't see, you know, treasure down there, but just to see this, you know, these features that were carved out over many, many years is just, there's nothing like it.
Totally agree, Jared. And have you seen any difference, or maybe you can point out the difference between the caves that you've been scuba diving in Russia, for example, to the caves that you've seen in Mexico? What are the differences?
So the biggest difference is how cold they are, right? The caves over there in Russia, all cold water. There, that was Orda Cave in Russia. The water temperatures there are between 38 and 42 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a lot colder than the caves in Mexico. But the biggest difference between some of the caves are, like you can see this cave in Mexico with all the stalactites on the formations hanging off the ceiling. So it, of course, once was dry to allow those formations to form, where a lot of the caves, like the Orda Cave in Russia, and even our caves here in North Florida, in cave country, they're all formed by water moving through the limestone and carving these passages over many years. So there's really no comparison into the cave. All of our caves here in cave country have lots of flow and just totally different features. So it's really awesome to be able to travel the world and be able to see these different caves and see the differences between them. Yeah, I of course love the formations and everything that you see in Mexico. It really shows you how old these caves are, where you maybe don't get that sense in the caves here, that were just formed by water moving.
Thank you, Jared. Now, as you of course know, last week we received equipment from Dive Rite, so we can keep exploring, we can keep educating us and the people around us about what lies underground in the peninsula of Yucatan. So my next question is for Ana. Ana is our research chief in the Great Maya Aquifer. Ana also is in charge of the university brigades. Hola, Ana. Hi, Ana.
Hola, Karla.
So, because we have this new equipment that was sponsored by Dive Rite, I would like you to tell us what will you be able to do thanks to this equipment, Ana, as a tool, as a scientific tool to keep the scientific side of the Great Maya Aquifer growing and sharing all this information with the community.
Of course. First of all, I am really glad that we received this equipment. This is going to be very, very, very useful for a lot of things. In terms of education, something that we do with our university brigades is to show the students, their future generation of scientists, the correct or right approach to a very sensitive and very serious environment as are the caves. Many teenagers, many young divers get very attracted by the caves, but they don't know the correct or the right approach to them. So one thing that we promote, that we foster, is this correct approach. As our students are watching the divers working in the field, and they see obviously the correct equipment on them, they start to get serious about diving. And I think this is very, very important also in terms of security for all our community. I dream that many of these future scientists become technical divers. Many of them are just starting with an open water course, but as soon as they can get to see more and more serious divers in our team using the correct equipment, I'm sure that is going to become like a role model to them. In other terms, we are just starting to work with our citizen science brigades, which are not or don't have to be students, university students. And this is people, scientists, normal people that are already divers or are just people interested in cenotes, most of them urban cenotes. Many of them are also attracted by the caves. And one more time, I think having the right dive gear, having a very important alliance with Dive Rite is going to give us a support of the brand, a support of the all the technology that they use. I really like the way they create equipment according to the needs. And I think that in terms of science, specifically for the caves, we are just starting to be able to maybe create a slate special for caves, which I dream about, and I'm sure we can later talk about it. But the first step is that our technical divers trust in the equipment. In that way, the scientists or the professors, researchers that work with us will trust in the technical divers, and one level below, our students are going to trust what the divers are doing. No, I think this is like a chain of trust that starts from having the correct approach to the caves, which I repeat is very important to promote this, to start with this promotion of the correct or right approach in terms of safety, in terms of conservation for the caves. So I think this is the base of the benefits that we are receiving. But from there's a lot of objectives that we can create from now on, having this equipment and this donation from Dive Rite.
One of the things excites me the most about this donation of this equipment is that, Jared, you might not know this and you might not be aware of this, but you might change the life of someone that might be the next scientist for the Yucatan Peninsula. Anna knows, and she's had students that had no idea that they could scuba dive or even snorkel at these cenotes, and now she's taking them to cenotes. And Anna, can you tell Jared the anecdote about this young student that you took to this cave and he wasn't talking at all, and then he just came out talking a lot because he entered this new environment that he didn't know before. And now with this equipment, not only will you be able to have water samples, for example, to measure the quality of the water inside the caves as the scientific research, but you're also changing the lives of young kids in the Yucatan Peninsula.
Yeah, that's for sure. The students, even let's put it this way, even when we live in an area with a lot of caves, many of the students are not getting close enough to them. They learn concepts in the school, but the education doesn't have, the plan of education doesn't have enough time to go to the field. So something that we do is to promote these field trips in order to approach them to the scenario that we work in every day. So it's not only about being in a dry cave. Once they put just a mask and see underwater, okay, that changed a lot their view of their profession. And this is something that has been repeated and repeated and repeated. It's like something that a formula that we already know it will work. You don't have to get the people close to the caves. You have to make them, put them close to a experience, obviously in a safety way, in experience that they leave the cave. They see our technical divers come back with the samples, but it's not the same. And they are impressed by the dive gear. Ricardo was maybe 2 weeks ago with us, and a lot of kids got close to him, ask him if they could take a picture with him, because it's something like weird, no? It's something like an astronaut, no? So with the students, it's different because they know that the divers are going down to collect samples, to collect sediments, to collect or to take pictures. But once they know that they are able to become a technical diver, and you can explain them all the time and all the knowledge and all the courses they have to take, but it's also a career that will make their profession get broader in terms of possibilities, in terms of opportunities. Many of them understand it, and that's what I think that having this gear is going to make us be able to be more visible to them, in order to show them the correct approach to the caves in terms of science, obviously.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll get back to you after our main star, Guillermo Dianda. Now, Guillermo Dianda, as you know, he's an underwater archaeologist. He's also a researcher for the Instituto Nacional de Antropología e Historia. He's also an explorer for National Geographic Society. And one of the main parts of the Great Maya Aquifer, and our main goals, is all these archaeological treasures that we're finding in the underwater caves. So Guillermo, welcome again. Thank you for joining us today. One of the sponsors, apart from Dive Rite, we know is also INA and the Embassy of Switzerland in Mexico. And we know that with this equipment, Guillermo, you'll be able to develop even more all this digital preservation. Can you tell us about what digital preservation is to start with?
Sure. Thank you very much, Karla, for your introduction to me, to yours truly. You're always very kind. Thank you. Yes, we have amazing sponsors, but before everything, I would like to once again thank Jared and his dad Lamar for their super generous support. I have been a fan of Dive Rite equipment even before we were sponsored by them. So I'm very happy and thankful. And we're going to do great things. It's going to be amazing for science, for preservation of caves, as you just said, for education, and to be able to make science get everywhere. Another amazing ally that we have is National Geographic Society. And as you all know, we are doing lots of media specials with them. There's a big one coming this year. And so we are trying to get to the most people we can. But right now we have a big concern, as you said. The government of Switzerland has sponsored us to do this digital preservation project, which is basically try to preserve materials in a way that we can study them, measure them, have conclusions about what happened in a given site, even though if these materials, which we don't want that happen, disappeared or get destroyed. Of course, we need to protect, to preserve all this material, but it's always good to have a backup and a very, very special and very clear backup, etc. So this digital preservation project has a lot to do with that. We have 6 super amazing places in the Yucatan Peninsula with amazing scientific information inside that we are going to digitalize, that we're going to do in 360 degrees images. We want to do photogrammetry, and eventually we want to reproduce those elements. And this is exactly what the digital preservation project is, and how important it's the sponsorship of Dive Rite. And as I said, I have been using Dive Rite equipment a long time ago when I started diving in caves. Actually, I think I started with Dive Rite, with the Dive Rite history in 1984. This is the year that I became a cave diver. And as you can all tell, I was the youngest cave diver in the world because I was about 4 or 5 years old then. Of course, I'm kidding. I was much older than that, and everybody knows it. But anyway, this is what the digital preservation project is intending to do: preserve the material, preserve the information. We do have amazing examples already of what we have done, and there is this little Maya pot that we had reproduced, and we have even made jokes with some people because they believe it's the original one, and you know, it's hard to tell the difference. So this is what we're trying to do: preserve digitally the past of our country, the history of humankind in the Yucatan Peninsula.
Thank you, Guillermo. So when you say that you want to reproduce all these findings that you found on these underwater caves, what do you mean by making, like, do you do them digitally, and then what happens next? Do you do them on 3D or?
Okay, there's we can do 3D, we can do photogrammetry, we do, you know, all the technology available. What's the beauty of that? I can send a digital file to a researcher that lives in Japan, and it's very interested in our skulls, in the bones, in the ceramics that lay down here, and we can have an exchange of ideas. We can have a different approach or a different interpretation of what we are looking at underwater. So that's how important this is. There's many fellow archaeologists that don't dive, and we can put in their hands a piece of artifact or a skull or a bone, which has been reproduced, has been printed in a 3D printer, and they can see the little marks, they can see, they can measure them, they can do everything without disturbing the original element who's under the water. So this is the importance of that. This technology is available for everyone now. You can do it with your cellular phone. But 10 years ago, when we started this with Corey Jaskowski, my good friend and part of this project, another National Geographic explorer, I can say that we were pioneering all this. We're watching a video right now, which is not underwater, but what we do is digitalize this cave, which is Cueva Manitas, and you can dive it even though there's no water there. You can dive it in your computer, and you can fly over the cave, and you can see the little hands, most of them children's hands. You can measure those hands, so you can see the power of this tool. It's very powerful. We are diving into this dry cave. We always say as cave divers, when we do dry caves, this cave could be perfect if only it had water. We can dive. Now we can dive it in the computer. We can fly, and we can take measurements, and we can see the beauty of the cave. And most importantly, we can get the information. Like with a click, we can measure all those hands and compare with the modern children population and see, yes, they belong to children. They are very small hands, as we are seeing there. So that's a very important part of our project. Or we can go to a prehistoric cave and find 15,000 years old bears and take pictures of them, come out, go to the computer, and then make them digitalized. This bear we have shown to fellow paleontologists, Dr. I don't remember his last name, and I don't want to go by his nickname. But anyway, he could determine the origin of this bear. We have mandibles, etc. We have now a nice collection of digitalized images. We're trying to do museums for children, for the general people to see in their computer with Oculus equipment or any other kind of it, and go to a museum without having to go out of their houses, which is very convenient nowadays. And at the end of this project, we will have this amazing international exhibition, because there's going to be these digital exhibits in the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City, in the Museum of Anthropology in Switzerland, and in the National Geographic Museum, which is, by the way, the biggest digital museum in the world. It's over 800 seats with Oculus equipment and everything. So it's going to be amazing when we are able to finish this project and show the products. And yes, of course, we have the big help of the Dive Rite equipment to preserve our lives. Jared said it very well. They design the equipment, they manufacture the equipment, and they test. They use the equipment. They trust their lives to their own equipment. So I think that's a good guarantee. And as you said, Karla, we're in a very dangerous environment if we don't have the proper attitude, the proper training, and the proper equipment. So this is why we need to be prepared with the best that we can find on these three items.
Thank you, Guillermo. Now, why is it important because you find these skulls, animal skulls, human skulls, all these artifacts on the offerings, on the Maya offerings? Why is it so important not to touch them?
Because, not to touch them, Karla, because most of the times, I would say, as an archaeologist, it is much more important, the information around an object, than the object itself. We can see a beautiful pot. We can see an amazing piece of pottery or carved stones, etc. But what is very important for us, what it really gives us information and really help us to understand what happened there, is the information surrounding it. So what if I touch it and move it, and I move this to put it there and take a nice picture, I'm gonna have a nice picture, but I had contributed to destroy forever part of the information to understand our past. So this is why it's so important. This is why we always say our fellow divers to be careful with what they might see, because the Great Maya Aquifer is so amazing that it's, without any doubt, probably the most important archaeological site, submerged archaeological site in all the world. So we have the privilege of having it here. Let's preserve it.
Yes, absolutely, Guillermo. Thank you. So, Jared, if you can come join us, Ricardo, Ana, I would like to have you all together now. Now that we learn about every single expertise. So, what would you like to add, Jared, about now that you've seen even more about what we are going to be able to do thanks to this donation? Oh, your audio. You're muted.
It's really exciting. We're really happy to provide this equipment to you guys to continue your work. For us, if we can get just a few more people excited about diving, excited about cave diving, then it's all worth it in the end. So I think what you guys are doing with helping preserve the history, teach people about the history that's in these caves, but also just showing how cool it is inside the cave is the coolest part of it, right? Is actually showing people what it is like inside the caves. And when you guys are talking about introducing students to diving, that makes it really all worth it to me too, just to know that we're able to, the equipment can get one more person in the water. That's awesome.
Thank you, Jared. Now I would like to ask to all of you, so you choose who's going to say it first, who's going to answer first. Just to remind people that this year is the International Year of Caves and Karst. So, what has been your favorite scuba diving on an underwater cave? You choose who's going to answer first and why.
I can go first. I think one of the coolest experiences I've had in a cave I always say it's the #1 cave that I would like to go back to would be the Crystal Caves of Abaco. Got a chance to dive in the Bahamas with Brian Kegcook several years ago, and that still is definitely the top of my list for cave diving underwater. The crystal formations, there's nothing like it, and also tons of artifacts under there. Brian, of course, can point them out to you, all the animals that have fallen in the blue holes over the years. But that definitely is #1 when it comes to underwater caves. Of course, Mexico being up there too, but that would be one of my favorite places besides Mexico.
Thank you, Jared. Who's next? Ricardo, Ana, Guillermo, who wants to go first? Ricardo.
Okay. Well, I have a favorite cave around here. It's Nohoch. Nohoch is part of Zacatún, but this part of Nohoch, it's really amazing because first time I was there, it's like, oh my God, this is so big, it's huge. So you start digging inside of the cave and you can do it for hours and no end. And every piece of the cave, it's like a piece of art for the nature. It's huge, it's magnificent, it's with very delicate parts or small parts, but like very complex. It's amazing. For me, it's one of the best caves I ever seen in my life. Nohoch.
Thank you, Ricardo. Who's next, Ana or Guillermo? Who wants to answer this question? I think it's gonna be you, Guillermo.
Yeah. Well, Anita, want to go ahead or?
Yeah, I can go. I'm sure which is my. It's not my favorite, but it's my greatest experience in a cave, which is Balamku. I just became part of the Proyecto GAM, and I was the third. I think I was the third. Maybe Memo can confirm this, but I was the third person to get in the cave recently, in modern times. Let's put it that way, and it was amazing for me. Finding all these offerings and being able to crawl to the end of what we suppose in that moment that was the end of the cave was amazing. Being there by myself, because Memo and Karla stayed on the back, and just realizing that there has been a lot of time that nobody has been there. Just realizing that, just thinking that a Mayan put the last offering in the seventh offering inside of the cave, and just thinking and thinking how could be that moment in the past, and how the cave has changed in all this time, and just going back and telling Karla and Memo what I have seen and all the details that I didn't realize. I didn't look to them because I was so amazed of being there. I think that's my greatest experience so far in entering a cave, which is a dry cave, but it was just amazing.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. And last, Guillermo.
Okay, well, that's very, very, very hard to say, really. But I had to pick three of them. One of them is in something that I will not forget when Mike Madden and Parker Turner came back from a dive in 1985 and told me that they had found something amazing. I was an archaeology student back then, and then they told me there is a fire pit. The fire pit in Actunja or Carwash, as everybody used to know it. And right there, we just had came back from the Room of Tears, so an amazing place there. First time I saw all these formations and everything. But that fire pit changed my mind, because that fire pit showed me that my archaeology books that I had studied on my career were wrong, and most of my professors were wrong, saying that there were no early Americans, early humans. I mean, early as 10,000 or over 10,000 years old in the Yucatan Peninsula. So that opens the gate to understand that yeah, there was presence of humans here, and now we all know that cave, basically cenotes, have shown us that the material could be very well preserved. So discover that fire pit, that element in that amazing cave. Back then, very few people dove there. It was unique. Then I have to mention another dive that Ricardo makes me remember about this in Nohochnachic. I was diving with several divers. It looked like they had a little bit of experience. That was Wes Kyles, Jill Heiner, that was here recently, Goody Jasper, Tom Morris, Tom Iliff. I think there's Joel Tower. Well, we were doing a video a long time ago. We had a little incident. I'm not going to go through it. It was a result of a stupidity from part of our group, but we came back healthy and alive, as you. So I remember that dive very, very much. And of course, I have to talk about Cenote Holtun in Chichen Itza, who not only gave us a lot of information in this beautiful cenote, this offering that is now submerged, and that we learned that the Maya deposited there when the cenote was, the water of the cenote was lower. So that indicated us that that place was dry on the 9th century of our era, because most of the ceramic that we saw there belongs to that period of time. And for me, it was amazing, because it was an open book of the history of this, and then we could prove the theories of the paleo climatologist, Dr. Brenner, Dr. Hodel, good friends of the project as well. And we knew they were right. There was a huge drought there, and that caused a lot of trouble in all the Maya area. So I think, sorry for take 3 of them, and there's many more, but it was a hard, tricky question, Karla.
I know. I'm sorry. I knew this was a tricky question. I'm sorry. So now I would like to read some comments from the people that joined this live session. First of all, like we always, thank you, Yure from Spain. Jared, there's people watching us from Spain, from Cuba, from Florida, from El Salvador. Hi to David Salazar. He's saying hello from El Salvador. Jose Luis Tello from the YMCA. People from the Yucatan Peninsula also. Aaron Cetina, welcome, thank you. And Yure Estrella, she says, all my respects to the cave divers. The bravery and serenity they show in those photos is amazing. Congratulations, regards, all GAM. And Anna, that she loves you. So thank you, Yure, watching us from Spain. We also have people watching Lourdes Núñez, incredible job for Guillermo Dianda. Joel, he's always watching us. Hi from the Maya zone in the peninsula of Yucatan. And from Playa del Carmen also, Eduardo Soberano, thank you for watching us. Is there anything else that you would like to share about diving in caves, Jared, that you would like to share with people that haven't even
get out there and do it? I mean, to me, there's nothing like it. If you want to know the closest thing to being in space, weightless feeling inside a dark area where you're the only, you have the only source of light. There's nothing like it. It's not for everybody, but the few crazy people that that love it like me, I mean, it's all we live for.
Thank you, Jared. Ricardo, anything that you would like to add about cave diving?
Oh, I just see the comment from Eduardo. I think he is the boy who take us some weeks ago to make this film for French TV, and he is the original discoverer for this site. Who he take us there, and he's a better example for the boys who need to take all this job we are doing. We are on the second half of the life, so they need to take this job and continue for the next year. So he's a very example for that. He's always here and paying attention for all the diving in the cave. So I think this is what we need. We need to make all the next generation interesting in the caves, and I'm convinced the only way to preserve the caves is about knowledge. We need more people knowing these caves and see these caves.
Absolutely, Ricardo. Definitely. Education will change the world. Anna, anything you would like to add? We can't hear you.
Sorry. Once again, I want to say thank you to Dive Rite. This is a very, very important support, not only for the GAM team, but also for what I think is going to be the next generation of scientists that will leave the Karst, will leave the caves, will protect them, will study them. And as long as we keep doing as much as we can, meanwhile we are here, we need to spread the passion, the love for the caves, and having this gear is one big step. So thank you again, Dive Rite.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. And Guillermo, what would you like to add before we say goodbye?
Well, another thanks to Jared, to Ricardo, who's has been promoting all this. Thank you very much, Ricardo. Ricardo is now part of the Great Maya Aquifer, as you all know, great photographer, expedition leader. And to say that, as Jared said, Cave diving might not be for everyone. Yeah, that's important, and you have to recognize if you want to do it or not. But if you do it right. Use the right equipment, reduce your risks, get trained, and you're going to enjoy it and love it. Once I discovered it, I decided this is what I want to do the rest of my life, and this is what I'm doing. And combine it with archaeology, which is really, really amazing. And what Anna said, Anita, is completely right on the fact that this is all helping, adding to education. And as Ricardo said as well about Eduardo, who's a good example of how can we get to the young guys and motivate them. Now Eduardo is learning how to dive. He's doing his open water dive training, open water diver training, and he took us there. Now the cenote that he showed us is going to be broadcast in the French TV in about 2 months. We just did a special for them a couple of weeks ago. So this is what is very nice about this job, that we can motivate people, that people that join our group to for a very important task, protect the amazing, beautiful caves in this year of Karst and caves. So let's all promote our caves and very especially protect them.
Thank you, Guillermo. Beautifully said, as always. So thank you, all of you. I've enjoyed this conference a lot. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us your time, Jared, Ricardo, Ana, and Guillermo. And just remember that you can share this talk with everybody. We want every single human in this world to know about the importance of the Great Maya Aquifer for the entire planet, because we are all connected and we must remember this. And thank you, Jared, again for this wonderful sponsorship for the Great Maya Aquifer. And we will see you soon. We have many good news and exciting news. We won't say anything. Yes, Guillermo, you want to say something? Guillermo wants to say something.
Very quickly, I apologize to our Spanish-speaking audience that we had to speak in English today. But I think the message is there, the photographs are there, and I know most people speak English, so our message gets to a lot of people. But I just wanted to apologize for doing it this way. There's not enough time to be translating, so and we can lose a lot of the momentum. So this is why we do it like this. And I want to thank also especially to you, Karla Munguia and Karla Ortega. You both coordinated this. You as moderator, Karla is coordinated technical part. You, as always, you both did an amazing, impeccable job. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Guillermo. Thank you, Karla. Karla, thank you so much. She's the magician behind the scenes. She makes all this magic happening in your screens. So thank you, Guillermo. Thank you for your words. Thank you again, Jared. And we will see you soon. Remember that we are celebrating the International Year of Caves and Karst. And once again, I would like to thank our sponsors, Dive Rite, the Embassy of Switzerland in Mexico, and also the International Union of Spéléologie, of course, the National Institute of Archaeology and History, el Instituto Nacional de Arqueología e Historia. Y bueno, repetir lo que dijo Guillermo, una disculpa por haber llevado esta conferencia a cabo en español, pero no se preocupen, llevaremos más conferencias a ustedes en español. Recuerden compartir estas conferencias para que todo el mundo se entere de la importancia que tenemos en México en el gran acuífero maya. I'm Karla Munguia. Soy Karla Munguia. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.